ready?
I'm more than ready.
You more than ready? Sean, you more than ready?
Let's do it.
Hello, welcome to Good for a Change. This is a podcast where we combat the barrage of awful everyday news you hear with good news that will make you feel happy inside, instead of that crushing feeling NPR gives you. I'm Jarrod Fairclough, with me is Hollie Bryan.
Hello.
And Sean Bryan.
Hello.
Hollie, have you got some good news for us?
I have got some very good news. My news is this. Melbourne Council has assigned an email address to all 77,000 trees in Melbourne so that you can report when things are wrong with them. But instead of that, people have just been sending them love letters.
So, 77,000 email addresses
Yes,
to individual trees.
to the trees.
How do I find out an email address for a tree?
So there's a map on
Yep.
the website
Yep.
for the Melbourne Urban Forest Visual thing.
Yep.
And there's a map and you can click on them and it's got what the tree is, its life expectancy, so how well it's doing, and then an email address if you found anything wrong with the tree.
And most people have been sending love letters
Yep.
to the trees.
Have we got an example of a love letter?
Do I ever?
That's bizarre.
It's really interesting.
Who's doing that with their life? Who's thinking to themselves, I am bored, I'm going to write a love letter to an elm?
Me.
Alright, great.
They're all me. It's been happening since 2015 and it's all me. This one says, "Hi tree, you're just outside my work and you make me happy. Smiley face. Keep growing and keep on treeing."
That's amazing.
That's lovely.
Isn't that nice?
That's lovely.
Also, interestingly, someone has to sit there and look at 77,000 different email accounts.
That's it. That's someone's full-time job, is
just-
to read emails to trees.
In-
How often, like 77,000, how many of these emails do you think are actual, there is a problem with this tree, as in there is a branch down or something?
How many of them are just getting emails saying, like, Viagra 50% off?
Yeah, how many of them are just spam? Like, how many Nigerian princes are sending emails to trees?
Yeah, I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'd love that.
I need that Viagra, it'll help me grow big and strong.
Oh, that is inappropriate.
Not appropriate. Some people haven't even seen the trees. There's one here from someone in New York, and they're like, "You're an amazing tree. I love you. It's a shame I'll never see you because I'm in New York."
They can come and visit the
They can
tree.
visit.
Maybe they should.
Maybe this should be a tourist thing, like a tourist trap.
It's like
Find
pen
a
pals.
favourite tree.
Yeah, it's like a pen pal thing, you know, when you...
Do the
had a
trees
pen
ever
pal
write
in school
back?
and-
No.
Oh.
Oh, you need someone writing back on behalf of the trees.
Hello, it's me, Eucalyptus number 27,000.
Do they call it tree mail?
Oh, they should.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I truly think it was meant to be a lot more serious than what it turned out to be.
Because I'd be disappointed if the email address isn't like oak@treemail.com.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
What a shame.
Melbourne City Council, you should have gone to this. Also, they're about to save about, I think it's, probably 20,000 email addresses are probably about to drop off because Melbourne's just announced that they're going to start removing some of the plane trees that are in town, which is, I think, personally good news. I mean, I'm not all for chopping down trees, but they're going to replace them with something else because the plane trees are really bad for hay fever sufferers. Mm-hmm. When I lived in St Kilda, it was so bad I would leave the house and my car would be filled with plane tree spores and I'd be crying as I drive. So I think that's good news, and it means that the person responsible for checking emails will get to check 20,000 less emails because there'll be less trees for them.
I think they're trying to build a canopy.
Oh.
I think that's what the whole thing is, that they're building some sort of a tree canopy in Melbourne, which is nice. Melbourne's not a very green city.
No, it's not, but we haven't got a lot of space to put
Trees.
trees because it's all just buildings, 7-Elevens.
Chuck a tree in a 7-Eleven. The Apple Store has trees in it.
It does, yeah.
Does
It
it?
sort of
Yeah.
trees in
Where's
it.
the apple? Where's the trees in the apple store?
I'm not the
Chadston.
person to ask about that.
Chadston.
Can you email the tree that's in the Apple store?
I'm going to be
sure
honest,
it's just-
I think the trees in the Apple Store in Chadston are fake trees.
Nah, they wouldn't do that to us. They're apple trees.
I don't know if they're
Oh,
Apple trees.
boo.
Oh, that was really nice.
That was wonderful. That was a wonderful story.
We love trees.
Yeah. Talking about love, I have a story about love.
Oh,
This comes from New Zealand, from the bottom of the South Island. It's about Rob, who they call the unappealing albatross.
Oh.
But it's a good story.
Okay.
Rob, the unappealing albatross, who has been single for 10 years, has finally found love.
Oh my
Amazing.
gosh, I'm so happy.
He's a poor little albatross. He's been coming to mating season the last 10 years. He's always the first one there as well. And just out of the 150 lady albatrosses that come, not one wants a bit of Rob.
Not one bit of
Is it
Rob.
because his name's Rob?
Possibly.
Why did they call him Rob?
I don't know. He has had 4 partners. Mm-hmm. They do mate for life. But the 4 partners have all died.
Oh no, Rob!
Rob, but it's a happy story because he's finally found love again.
Oh, bless him.
It's lovely. The
What's
local
the name?
wildlife work. We don't know the name of the woman.
Okay.
The woman. The woman albatross.
The lady
The
albatross.
lady albatross. Local wildlife workers have been taking bets for the last 10 years on whether he would find love that year.
Oh.
They even considered starting a Tinder account for him.
I was going to ask if he found his love through Tinder.
No,
No.
Oh, bless him.
but bless his little cotton socks, he's finally found himself some love.
Do you want to hear something funny?
Is it about
Always.
albatrosses?
Yeah, it is.
Absolutely.
Until I would say 2013, I did not think albatrosses were real.
Just thought they were like Big Bird from Sesame Street?
Yeah, because they were in Alice in Wonderland. And
Okay.
I thought it was just like, oh, he's made up a giant seagull. Oh, an albatross. That's not real. But it is. They are real.
It's also because the dodo is in.
Yeah.
And the dodo is extinct, so perhaps also a.
I don't know. But someone was like, there's an albatross. I was like, don't be stupid. Albatrosses aren't real. And then I was...
Have you seen an albatross?
Apparently, yes.
They are massive.
Yeah.
They have a wingspan of 3 meters. That's
Fun fact.
That is a fun fact that I found out while I was researching poor Rob the unappealing albatross.
I think they have the longest wingspan of a bird, don't they?
They do.
There we go.
Do all birds mate for life? Because penguins do, don't
Penguins do. I believe puffins do,
they? Oh,
but I don't know.
I don't know, maybe it's a nice concept though. Monogamous birds.
just all birds.
Yep.
Unfortunate for Rob, who has managed to lose 4 partners.
Yes,
is that
he
some
has-
sort of a conspiracy? Has he...
Well, he's got children.
Oh, good.
He's got his own
So
children.
he's not lonely.
No, so he's not lonely. He has children, but yeah, all the other. So maybe the children are like taking out his wives one by one.
Is he a really ugly albatross?
No, he looks like a normal albatross. I had a beautiful photo. That this is great for a podcast medium, but I will
We'll chuck
show
it in the
you.
show notes.
Okay, I will show you the picture of
Rob.
Rob with his bride.
Oh, look at that.
I don't
She's
know.
wearing a tiara.
That's probably Rob.
That's probably...
Maybe that explains it.
Oh, Rob.
What a lovely story.
I love that.
There was a similar story along the lines of that. There was some rare species of birds that I don't know. I think it was, again, off New Zealand somewhere. There was an island where all these birds used to flock to hang out and mate. And I think they built a concrete version of the bird to try and attract them to this island. So they'd see this concrete statue of the bird and then fly to the island and have relations and boost the population of this type of bird again. And there was one that kept flying there and it fell in love with the concrete statue. So it didn't end up creating any more of the species because it was in love with the concrete statue that was built to attract them. But, birds.
Well, speaking of, you asked about penguins, you've heard about the gay penguins in, I think, Glasgow?
Oh, yeah.
They
At the
gave them a
zoo.
stone.
I love
But
that.
since then, they have actually found an egg that had been abandoned and gave it to the 2 gay penguins. So now they actually have their own little penguin child.
Oh, that's really nice. Good work,
amazing.
the zoo.
You've got to love a zoo. And actually that will carry on really nicely into my story, which is great. This was completely unplanned because we haven't told each other our stories. So this is interesting that it flows through. So mine relates to pumpkins, which is clearly what we've brought up.
The exact same.
The exact same thing.
Yeah.
No, it'll make sense in a moment.
Yeah. 2 penguins have been sitting on a pumpkin. The pumpkin's been single for 10 years.
And now,
And now you can email it.
So my story is about pumpkins, and it's because last week was Halloween, and of course, at Halloween, you make jack-o'-lanterns out of pumpkins, do some pumpkin carving, and that creates a huge waste problem. In fact, there's something like over 1 billion pounds of pumpkin is thrown away at the end of Halloween every year in the States.
Really?
So there are things called pumpkin drop-offs, and various cities and towns do different styles of pumpkin drop-offs, but it's all a way to curb the waste that's going to landfill, because it's 1 billion pound of pumpkin going to landfill. So they're trying to work out ways of stopping that and recycling and those kind of things. The city of Orlando, for example, is now turning them into clean energy, so you can take your pumpkin to be recycled and turn into clean energy, which is exciting. But the one I was really interested in was one in a town in Toronto. A member of the community, I think her name was Sarah, organised a pumpkin drop-off, and the idea was that the pumpkins were going to be donated to a local animal shelter where they have a number of pigs who eat the pumpkins.
Yes.
And she was expecting to get about 50 pumpkins, and it's turned out there's like 1,000 pumpkins have been dropped off. And it's, again, there's pictures, which we'll put in the show notes so that you can see these pictures. But it's like this massive mound of jack-o'-lanterns now. And it's this whole collection of weird pumpkin art, because no one just does your normal jack-o'-lantern anymore. It's all really interesting carving and things. So all these different pumpkins have been compiled together in a massive lump outside this person's house, basically. And they're all going to go to this animal shelter. I can tell you a bit more about the animal shelter.
Please do.
They're called Carol's Animal Sanctuary. And
Classic Carol.
Classic Carol.
Good old Carol.
It was started in 2017, and its aim is to find forever homes to animals that are struggling to find one. So
I thought for a moment you were going to say it is to find forever homes for pumpkins.
Carol's like, I just want the pumpkins to have a good life.
No, so they are trying to find homes for animals that have their old age or special need, or their type of species means that they're not generally adopted by others. So it ranges from dogs and cats to pigs, apparently, and the pigs are what are really keen on pumpkin. So
Pigs are keen on everything. You can literally throw anything at a pig and it'll eat it.
Fun fact about pigs, in the New Forest, in the autumn time when the acorns fall off the trees, they let the pigs into the New Forest to roam free to eat the acorns because the horses are allergic to them.
I didn't know horses were allergic to acorns.
Now you know. Isn't that cute? So sometimes you'll be driving around and you'll be like, oh, look, it's a pig! It's a good time.
it's a good time. That's the New Forest in the United Kingdom on the south coast, which is a pretty special place.
Yeah, it's fun.
I give it a 6 out of 10.
Give it a 6. No, well, I mean, we drove through there, and the first day we were there, remember all the cows on the road?
Yeah.
And they just would not move.
That's what it's like there. Donkeys sometimes as well. Donkeys are the most stubborn. But there's villages in the New Forest where, because the New Forest isn't really a forest as per traditional standards, it's more kind of fields that have been, left to grow, and animals can wander around on them because of commoners' rights, which is a lengthy history story that we don't get into now. But in the middle of the forest, there are still villages, and you get things like donkeys standing in line for the ATM, and it's ridiculous.
Right, well, they need their money out too, Sean.
They do. They do.
Gotta get down to Tesco. Another festive reuse thing. You can hire a Christmas tree.
Oh, can you?
Yeah. So you're still using a tree, but you're not cutting down a tree and then killing that tree.
Mm-hmm.
You can hire out a tree that is in the mud still and still growing, decorate it, and then at the end of the festive season, obviously you've got to keep the tree alive. Very important to the rent-a-tree process.
If you thought digging your car when you rent a car was bad, wait till you kill a Christmas tree.
And then you return the tree and they'll plant the tree and it will continue to live its life as a big tree.
That's really
Can
cool.
you go back and get that particular tree the next year as well?
I think so. I've not...
Can you email the tree during the year?
Dear tree!
Dear tree!
I miss
For
you.
Christmas, I would like...
As though the tree magically drops the presents
I mean,
instead of Santa.
that's starting some new traditions right there.
I like it.
For anyone that thinks that Coca-Cola has too much control over the Christmas season and the image of Santa, write to a Christmas tree and get your presents from that instead.
Well, that was some lovely news stories. It's good for a change. Hey? Just
See what you did there.
Just gonna
Classic.
shoehorn the title in there.
Add the title in.
But I have to ask, Sean, what's good in your life at the moment?
What's good in my life? I have just got back from being on the road in Queensland with a show tour, And I really enjoyed the tropical atmosphere and the weather and seeing things I hadn't seen before. And I'm still sort of glowing from that, partially in tan, partially in a mental place. But that's been really good at the moment. It's got me thinking about a lot of things, so feeling happy about that.
Lovely. Hollie, what's good in your life?
I'm happy that it's spring again.
I mean, you wouldn't know it looking at the weather at the moment, because as we talk, it's chucking it down.
Literally pouring with rain. But it's nice that the flowers are out again. Spring's my favourite season.
And what are the flowers called?
A rhododendron.
Abadum-dums.
Adabundum.
Abadum-dums.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Double spring. Big fan.
Yeah,
Big
because you've obviously just moved out here from the UK to Australia, so...
Oh, is that where your
Double spring.
accent's from, is it?
Jarrod, what is good in your life?
You know what's good in my life? Last week, you and I, Hollie, had a very lovely dinner.
We did.
And it was a beautiful 3.5 hours while Sean was at work. And I went home feeling very nice and thought it was a wonderful time. It's something I've been doing with people, taking them out for dinner, sort of talking to them. I'm going to have to take you out at some point, Sean. But it's a really nice way to sort of get to know people. I think I know you better now than I did before then.
No.
And I do not like you.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, you're fine. Well, that was nice. Those are some nice stories.
Yeah.
We had birds, we had trees, we had pigs, we had pumpkins.
I think I've said trees more in this 20 minutes than I ever have in my life. Trees.
And then one more for good measure.
If you enjoyed listening to us, please subscribe, because we need regular listeners to keep us doing this and going, and that would be nice and be good for our egos. And you can also leave us a review on iTunes or wherever else you get your good podcasts from. We only accept 5-star reviews because we're a good news podcast, so if you've got anything 4 or less...
Yeah, take your
Not
4
interested.
stars and get out.
Like your mum said, if you've got nothing good to say, don't say it in the comments section.
And if you hear any good news in the week, you can email us at goodforachangepodcast@gmail.com and we'll have a look through, and if we think it's really good, it might be in the podcast next week.
Depends on how lazy we are in our research.
It's true, we are very lazy. But thank you very much, Hollie.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Jarrod. You're welcome.
Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.